Cost and dangers of racial profiling. It is not just someone just being mean or being an idiot. No, there are real costs and there are serious dangers associated with racial profiling. Stay tuned and we'll talk about that in just a second.
That Corbin and Corbett legal team fighting for the rights of the people. That father-daughter team investing in the youth when the system ain't treating them equal. Providing truth for our people, we able to reach them. So anytime you get accused for a crime and Lord knows you ain't do it, we here to get you through it. Exemplifying prudence and glorifying God, making sure you're compensated for other people's doings. Our vision is to be one of the best. We're small enough to focus on your matter throughout the neighborhoods of Dallas. Working constantly and making sure your rights are protected. A firm team of lawyers, aggressive, effective. A team that has your back in the courtroom. Two well-spoken black lawyers in the courtroom. Investing time and resources when it's evident that you were treated wrong. Now you walking out of Dallas courtroom with a settlement. Corbin and Corbett, the father-daughter legal tag team that has your back in the courtroom. Our purpose is simple. To obtain the favorable outcome for each client and glorify Christ in all we do. Our vision is to be one of the best and most...
Hello, legal rebels. This is Attorney Augustus Corbett, and we are the Defiant Lawyers, and with me I have...
Attorney Chloe Corbett, a.k.a. the Duchess of Justice.
Yes, and again, we are the Defiant Lawyers, and we provide legal analysis of trending politics, policies, personalities, and pop culture to empower you with information you need to defy this unjust legal system. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Come on, what are you waiting on? Come on. Hit that subscribe button and please ring that bell so that you'll get notified every time we upload one of these awesome videos. Yes, and today we have an exciting topic. I've already let the cat out the bag, okay? I'm going to just go ahead and show you. We do have a special guest with us today, Creston Coleman, one of our clients. We're going to be bringing him back on in just a moment, but for right now, it's just Chloe and I. There are a few things that we want to go over today before we get into our topic of the cost and dangers of racial profiling. All right, Chloe, how are you doing with the exception of that stopped up runny nose?
I'm doing well. Excuse me if I sound like I'm stuffy today, guys, but I was not going to miss this broadcast. There's so much that we have to talk about, and we are excited to introduce Mr. Coleman to tell his story and what we're doing with his case. So I'm doing well. I'm blessed. I'm ready to get into this topic. Hope you're doing the same, Dad.
I am. Now, one of the things I think we heard from last week, Chloe, is that your mic is a little bit low. I'm going to go to myself to give you time to turn that up just a little bit, okay?
Perfect.
All right, so before we actually get into the topic for today, there are a few things that we want to talk about having to do with racial justice and civil rights. We want to talk, first of all, about Loretta Lynch. I'll come back to her. Ooh, Lord, like my grandmother used to say. Kim Potter, the co-defendants the defendants in the Ahmad Albury lynching, if you will, and the co-defendants in the Derek Chauvin murder of George Floyd. We want to talk about those things before we go to this story out of New Jersey where these two teenage kids got into a fight. Police showed up, racially profiled the young black man, and it's just horrendous. We got the video. We're going to look at all of that. But first, Loretta Lynch. I don't know what to say, Chloe. What are your comments?
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't. Loretta Lynch, she was the first black female attorney general in U.S. history. She was the 83rd attorney general of the United States from 2015 to 2017. She was appointed by President Obama to succeed Eric Holder, who was the previous attorney general. And she served as AUSA for the United States Attorney of the Eastern District out of New
Well,
York.
what is AUSA?
They're federal prosecutors for the federal government.
And the acronym stands for what? Assistant U.S. Attorneys?
Yes, I always get it confused. It's AUSA, Assistant U.S. Attorneys, and
Yes.
they prosecute on behalf of the federal government under the Department of
Well, you know
Justice.
what? I think she was U.S. Attorney for either the Eastern or Southern District of New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's definitely done a lot in her career, and she's had a long career in the law, a long legal career. I think since the Bill Clinton presidency. So she's been one of the foremost Black female attorneys in the country, serving as as the head as the Attorney General for the country. And look, it makes sense why the NFL would hire her and why the NFL would want to get a black woman on their team. They're facing a racial discrimination lawsuit, a class action lawsuit, alleging that the NFL and several owners of NFL teams racially discriminated against black coaches, had unfair hiring practices. So it's a shrewd move by the NFL. And look, as attorneys, we sometimes take on clients that do not always make sense.
Yep.
And she must have seen some type of opportunity to get her name back into the forefront after she left the attorney general position. So it doesn't make
Or
too much sense, but as an attorney it does.
or maybe I'm holding out hope. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt and hoping that the NFL said to her, we just want to work this out. We want to come up with a resolution. We recognize there's a problem and we need somebody like you to help us figure this out. So I'm hoping that that was the reason why she signed on to this. I mean, her father was a civil rights leader in North Carolina. So I mean, wow, it's just hard for me to see her taking a side and defending people who are racist and who are anti-civil rights. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe she feels, because she does have that background in that prosecutorial background and her father being a civil rights attorney, the NFL needs someone on its team who understands that side, who understands representing plaintiffs or representing victims, and going after defendants. So maybe that is a reason. It's just pure speculation as to why she decided to join the defense team for the NFL as well. But I'm very curious to see how it goes and how much of an active role she takes in defending the NFL in court too, because she's not the sole defense counsel for the NFL. There are other defense attorneys. So I'm curious to see what her role would be and how active she is in litigating the case.
All right, very good. And by the way, you're coming across very well today, unlike last week and the week before, where every couple of seconds you were getting stopped up. I think you got AT&T out, drug them by the nape of the neck, and said, "If you don't come out here and fix this, we're gonna have problems."
I said, y'all got to come out tonight. Yeah, today. Y'all not gonna make me look good on my broadcast.
Look
So I'm
bad.
so glad that it's going look bad. Excuse me. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that it's going well, and it's I'm not having the same problems as last week.
Yeah, it's looking much, much, much better. Okay, next topic is a judge sentenced Kim Potter, the former police officer who killed Dante Wright. The judge sentenced her to what? 2 years. 2 years,
2 years.
Chloe. 2 years for that young man's life. What do you think about that?
I, it's too little, in my honest opinion. Um, Dante, his life was lost. This officer said that it was a mistake, that she meant to grab her taser when and instead she grabbed her gun. I think the fact that she was a training officer and training several other police officers on the scene, she should be held to a higher standard. I don't feel that 2 years is justice in exchange for Dante, his life being gone. So she was convicted of first degree and second degree manslaughter back in December, but she was only sentenced for the first degree manslaughter. And this Judge Regina True, she said, I quote, "To those who disagree and feel a longer prison sentence is appropriate, as difficult as it may be, please try to empathize with Miss Potter's situation. She then did say, the judge then did say that Dante Wright's life mattered, but it was obvious the tone that this judge was taking, because she in giving this judgment, this sentence, the judge says, put yourself in Miss Potter's shoes. And like we said before, going to prison, going to jail, we don't like to see most people that happen to most people, but in my opinion, 2 years is not enough. And it doesn't send a clear picture to law enforcement that when you are dealing with black men, that our lives matter just as much as other citizens. And I truly believe a harsher sentence should have been issued. And one of the issues in this case too is that just a couple days ago, the prosecutors, they lowered their sentence recommendation, so the judge may have taken that into account as well. But I just disagree with the prosecutors lowering the sentence recommendation and the sentence that was issued by the judge.
Yeah, I mean, she almost nullified the finding of the jury with that very low verdict. And it
Yeah.
seems as if she had more sympathy for Kim Potter than she did Dante Wright and his family. So there you go. There's the American justice system. Who's up next? The co-defendants in the Ahmad Albury case. These three gentlemen. They're in a federal civil rights trial, federal civil rights trial, and so I just read recently where Tao, I think it is it how do you pronounce this, Chloe? Tao?
I think it's two Tao.
All right, Tao. Saw where he kind of got in a back and forth with the prosecutor about whether or not he could have done anything to help save George Floyd's life. He was a little bit flippant and I guess offended that the prosecutor would ask him such a question or those kinds of questions. And also, what do you think about not only, generally about Tooth Tao, but what do you think about all three of them apparently deciding to take the stand in their cases?
Well, they have the right to do it. Everyone has the right to remain silent. So they could have remained silent and um, continue to allow the prosecution to meet its burden to prove every element beyond a reasonable doubt. I feel like because of the way that the case was against the other officer who was convicted, they felt that they needed to explain their position and what happened. I personally, I feel like it's a slap to the face of George Floyd and his family. I don't see why they want to testify. I think it shows that they're defiant, and not in the way that we're defiant, but they're defiant about the outrage and the changes that have occurred because of George Floyd's murder. But I'm curious to see what the other officers say on the stand as well. And a lot of times, though, and we know this as defense attorneys, that we don't like our clients testifying on their own behalf,
That's right.
because a lot of times they say things that they're not supposed to. The prosecutors skillfully know how to get under the defendant's skin, and the prosecutor gets things out on the record and evidence that they can use in the closing argument. So I don't know how actually helpful it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that helpful. But I think it shows that they're defiant about these charges in this federal case.
All right. So there you have it. We covered Loretta Lynch, Kim Potter, the Ahmad Albury murderers, and the co-defendants in the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd case. That brings us now to this story, this outrageous story in New Jersey. These two teens, a black teenager and a white teenager, got into a fight. The white teenager was a bigger kid, had his finger all in this other boy's face. And from what I'm understanding, the young black man was standing up for a smaller, younger kid. They got into a fight. Two white, appear to be white. Maybe they were Latino, maybe they were Asian, but they weren't black. Two non-black police officers showed up and, well, let me show you what happened. We do have the video right here.
Right now. Go outside right now. Go outside. No, go right out there. Go right. You're talking to an individual. Get up. Get up. Get up. Right here. Go outside right now. Go outside right now. You're talking to an individual. What are you gonna do? You know I can have my face. Get your hand on my face. Come outside. Come outside.
Oh shit!
Yo.
No, bro. Chill. Brian, get out. Brian, leave. Holy shit.
Nah, nigga. What the fuck?
Holy shit. Oh no. Holy fuck. Yo, it's because he's black. Racially motivated.
That is racial profiling. That was racial profiling. My quick comments, and I'll throw it over to you, Chloe. Several things stand out in this video. Number one, again, white kid was bigger. He was all in that other kid's face, in the black kid's face. He was basically big enough to sling the black kid around a couple times and was on top of him when the police arrived. Yet the police pulled the white kid off the black kid, politely had him to sit down, while both of them put their knees in the back of this black kid and arrested him, and even allowed the white kid to stand up over them, not knowing who was at fault, not knowing whether the white kid was armed, not knowing anything. All they saw were two kids fighting, a white kid and a black kid, and in their minds, the black kid was the one who was guilty, was the one who was wrong. That is racial profiling. What say you?
That's the definition of racial profiling. That's the definition of the stereotypes that comes with being black in this country. That's the definition of law enforcement making these instant decisions and automatically assuming that the black person is at fault. Automatically assuming that this young black teenager was the wrongdoer, was the one that started this fight. And because they automatically assumed that this black teenager was the violent one, they manhandled him in ways that we see often when law enforcement interacts with black men and women. This young man, I think his name is Zaki Hussein. Please forgive me, or please let us know down below if I'm saying his name wrong. He's an 8th grader. He had just turned 14 years old. Like he said in the interview with his mother, and like you just said, Dad, he was defending another smaller kid who was apparently being picked on by the white young boy. And in the instant second, when those New Jersey police officers came, they instantaneously assumed that Zaki was the one who was in the wrong. That is the issue with the legal and criminal justice system in this country. And that is why so many black people are shot and killed by the police in this country, because we don't get the benefit of the doubt. That's the true issue. Most times we do not get the benefit of the doubt, even if we are the victims of a crime or of an offense. And I think that this fight between these two teenage boys really encapsulates everything that is wrong with our justice systems. Zaki and his family, they hired Ben Crump, who is a nationally renowned civil rights lawyer who's on a lot of these cases. Ben Crump, he did offer a statement that I just want to read briefly. I quote, Zaki was defending a younger friend in the 7th grade who was being bullied by a much older 11th grader when this incident unfolded. Zaki, an 8th grader, was noble to defend his friend from bullies. However, it is evident that officers immediately assumed that because of the color of Zaki's skin, him acting notably was not even in the realm of possibility. That video says it all. And that right there is the issue.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I'm curious to see how the New Jersey Township Police Department responds. I'm sure there's going to be some type of litigation or lawsuit filed And I'm curious to see what that complaint looks like against these police officers as well.
Yes, I think you said it well. Man, I mean, it's textbook racial profiling.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. If you would read Ben Crump's statement once again, I think it's very interesting. I'm not sure that everyone heard it. If you would read it one more time.
Let me pull it back up.
For the folks in the back.
So this is part. I quote, Zaki was defending a younger friend in the 7th grade who was being bullied by a much older 11th grader when this incident unfolded. Zaki, an 8th grader, was noble to defend his friend from bullies. However, it is evident that officers immediately assumed that because of the color of Zaki's skin, him acting notably was not even in the realm of possibility. That video says it all. I'm going to read another quote from his statement. Quote, we are so thankful that Zaki made it out of this incident with his life. It is no secret that dealing with police in America is more dangerous for black men and teenagers than it is for white men. Zaki was no more of a threat to those officers than the white teen who fought with him. This is another example of the kind of racial bias that we need to root out of our system of policing. These officers need to be reprimanded and retrained to overcome the implicit bias that results in unequal and often dangerous treatment of black people.
Where did you get that from?
That's from the statement from Ben Crump, who represents
Oh,
Zaki and his family.
that was the complete statement.
That was, yes.
Okay. So, in your estimation, what do you think the cause of action or causes of action would be against these cops? Or are there any causes of action?
I do think there are causes of action. I think that Zaki was illegally detained. When you contrast to how they interacted with the white teen who was also involved in the fight, I feel that because Zaki was illegally detained due to the color of his skin, that this is a Section 1983 civil rights violation, which basically means that these police officers were acting under the color of law. They were acting in their authority, and they racially profiled him and illegally detained him. So I do think that something should be filed in federal court. I also feel that they need to be retrained, like Ben Crump said, and the policies of that police department need to be changed as well. And they need to get new training on how to interact with black people in this country and how to root out that implicit bias that is in them that often causes black people to be shot or even killed.
All right. So, let's offer a formal definition for the phrase racial profiling. I got this from the ACLU. Wait a minute. What just happened? Hold on. Hold on. If it won't come up for me, I'll read it. All right, so let me just read it. Racial profiling, according to the ACLU, refers to the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials. I would expand that to mean any non-black person, or any person for that matter. The practice by law enforcement officials of targeting individuals for suspicion of crime based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. Again, racial profiling refers to the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials or other people of targeting individuals for suspicion of crime based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. That is racial profiling, and it's something that our guest today knows a thing or two about. I mean, all blacks do. We've all been racially profiled. But we do have with us today Mr. Creston Coleman, and Mr. Coleman had his own incident of racial profiling that our law firm is representing him on. And so we'd like to welcome Mr. Creston Coleman to our broadcast today. Mr. Coleman, how are you, sir? Oh, no volume. We don't have any volume.
Let's see if we can get.
No, still don't have any volume. We had everything worked out, but I've seen this, Chloe, on national television, so
All the time.
It happens.
While Mr. Coleman is getting his volume working, let me just introduce him a little.
Okay.
Mr. Coleman, he is a black father of 3 children. He was born and raised in Peoria, Illinois, which is known for its elite high school basketball teams. He was a 4-time high school champion basketball player with the esteemed Manual High School. He was also a member of USA Today's 1997 high school boys national championship team. And he was even invited along with his team to meet then President Bill Clinton, who invited his team to the White House and honored them for their accomplishments. So Mr. Coleman he now currently lives in Texas. He's heavily involved in the sports world. He's heavily involved in special needs athletes as well, and he loves coaching, and he's done that for most of his adult life. And unfortunately, he was the victim of racial profiling, and we're going to let him describe that once he gets his volume done. But that definition of racial profiling, it doesn't just apply to police officers or the government. It applies to black people when we go eat at a restaurant, or in our personal case, when we go to the movie theaters and are illegally and unjustly arrested, or when we go to a bank, which is what happened to Mr. Creston. So, as black people in this country, most of us, if not all of us, have experienced some type of racial profiling. Even if we have not had any bad dealings with the police, we've had racial profiling with just going through our everyday lives and doing regular activities that other Americans do. And Mr. Creston is going to detail that today.
Yes. All right. So we're trying to get him all worked out first. I think we finally got Mr. Coleman. Let's see. Let's hope. All right, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got him.
Perfect.
All right.
I do have to apologize to you all and also to the audience listening of that mishap on my end. Sorry about that.
No problem. Like I told Chloe and our audience, it happens on national television where there are $1 million pieces of equipment. So we're just glad to have you. So ain't no problem at all. And it's been a pleasure knowing you and representing you, Mr. Coleman. Unfortunately, we had to come to know you under these circumstances. But nonetheless, it's been a very pleasant experience with you. But what you went through at Wells Fargo Bank was not pleasant. So now there is pending litigation, so we're not going to get too deep in the facts before we, Chloe was introducing you, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Well, my name is Creston Coleman. I'm a native of Peoria, Illinois, in which I'm a current resident of. I'm a I just relocated back to Peoria because I have started a non-for-profit organization, which is called Performing Open Hearts, in which we're providing services and things of that nature to the city of Peoria. I came back here. This is where my heart is. I relocated back to Peoria, Illinois, to better my city and to help the future and to help rebuild my city.
Excellent, excellent, very good. And it's so awesome when someone like yourself who could be just focused on so many other more, I guess, self-centered types of things, who look back and want to reach back and be a blessing to our youth and to our community. So we applaud you for that very much so.
Thank
You
you, sir.
do.
Thank, thank you.
And Mr. Coleman, can you tell us a little bit more about your nonprofit Performing Open Hearts and what it does?
Well, actually, what it does is we provide services. Well, we are going to be starting to provide services, mentorship, but we're really going to be focusing on mediation, mediation amongst the within the school um, district with here, which is District 150, and also we're going to be being hands on with the streets with mediation amongst rival gangs and things of that nature. Being that bridge to prevent crime, to prevent crime, to bring the numbers down and senseless murders and unnecessary violence that's been happening in the city over the course of the last couple of years. But one big project that we do have, and that's going to be setting the ground work and the foundation to everything, is actually we're in the process of making documentary, a documentary that solely is going to be highlighting Peoria Manual High School basketball program, which is one of the richest basketball programs as far as history in the United States of America. Coming from a small city such as Peoria, there are hurdles that's right there at our front door, you know. But outside of that, to achieve some of the things that us as separate teams and also us as individuals, you know, we beat the odds. As far as competing with major cities like Chicago, which we share the same state as them, St. Louis. So competing against these guys, we beat the odds, and it's such an amazing story that a lot of people don't know. Small city, small area of town, but in 1997, we were a part. We were the 1997 boys basketball national champions. And when they say national, we competed against teams all across the country that year. And we were led by, rest in peace, the great Coach Wayne McClain. He took a group of young African Americans from a small section of city where, you know, where we lived in poverty. We came from nothing, and he masterminded it. He pushed us, and we excelled, and we achieved things we can never even thought of. So it's a beautiful story, but that's what led up to that's what happened in 1997. But the rich history is solely responsible for that. So I took the initiative to make sure that this story gets highlighted. So that's what the pretty much the basis of the documentary will be.
I love that. And my family, we come from a small town who loves basketball as well, out of North Carolina. And in fact, Michael Jordan grew up in the area that we're from. And so basketball was really huge. High school basketball, collegiate basketball, the NBA, all of that. And to hear how you're giving back and the fact that you're highlighting your town and the team that you played for, it's really good to hear. Um, so after high school and you playing basketball, what did you do after high school?
After high school, I attended college, actually in West Texas, South Plains College. I spent the year down there on a full athletic scholarship. My freshman year, my sophomore year, I returned back to the Midwest and I played for Lincoln College, which I did receive my associate's degree there. So I went on to continue my education at Robert Morris College as a student athlete um, in Chicago, Illinois. After the conclusion of my collegiate career, actually, I just been a journeyman. To be honest with you, I've been a journeyman. I've been in several. I resided in several different states, but a common thing about all of my reservations was that I've worked with the with youth. I've worked in school systems in 7 different states. That's has been the common thing. I worked in Olympics. I've been a coach in Special Olympics, participated in that every year. And my main expertise was working with children with special needs. That was just my desire. I always had a hidden desire to be there for the un you know the I ain't gonna say the unprivileged, but you know the most the unadvantaged, the disadvantaged. That's the word.
Hmm.
The disadvantage. We all as a society looked at people with disabilities and handicaps as the less have. But I see so much beauty, and I found so much beauty in them being at a disadvantage in the ways that they show their strength. I think we all can agree if we honestly observe these individuals like we observed each other and be honest, they never frown, they never complain. You know, all these individuals ever done was just exemplify strength and determination and overcoming. So I just always had a drive to to help, to play a role in their growth and their development and just their existence. And to be an advocate for them. So that's what I pretty much been doing all of my life in different states. Over, I would say, between 5 to 7 different states I've resided in. That was the work that I've done.
And the way you describe how you came to help the special needs children and to coach in the Special Olympics and being coach, and how resilient those children were when you coached them. It really sounds a lot like the Black community and how we've had to persevere and overcome as well, and the approach that other people outside of our community and in our community have taken to make sure that our kids are nurtured as well. And so I see a lot of similarities in the work that you've done with special needs kids with the work that other organizations have done with Black kids and the Black community and everything that we've had to persevere and overcome. So what brought you to Texas?
What brought me to Texas was opportunity, looking
Yeah,
for the
Faith.
next.
Faith. By the way, Faith brought us to Texas as well.
Yes. I
And
didn't want
look
to
at you
come,
now.
Lord knows, but I'm glad we came.
Yeah, yeah, and I have to say, I had to leave for a moment, but I did love residing in the Dallas DFW area. But Faith, looking for the next opportunity, and in which I did find it in a kind of way it all played its role and played its part. So it was just Faith looking for the next opportunity, change, and it was I had just lost my father, and you know, the
Sorry to
current
hear
city that I
that.
was living in, I just couldn't stay there no more. It was so, so Dallas was it. Dallas was it,
Yeah.
and so that's what brought me there. Just faith,
Condolences on your father.
opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Death is something that we all deal with. But thank you though, Mr. Corbin. Hmm.
Absolutely. So, well, you had an unfortunate experience here some time ago with one of the banks. Now, again, there is ongoing litigation, so we're not going to get very far into it. But if you would, just kind of briefly tell us what happened.
If I say, just in a nutshell, I went to the bank where I was a member of for over 10 to 15 years, between 10 and 15 years, to deposit a check into my checkings account. That was my only reason of being there. That was my only purpose. But in the midst of attempting to do so, the police were called on me. I got the police called on me. I don't know, how far I can go into it, but that's was pretty.
Yeah, just keep it general.
Yep. So yeah, I just went in to, like everybody else was doing, coming to make a financial transaction, and the police were called on me.
Okay, very good. Well, unlike so many other blacks, you didn't just take it and move on with it. You decided to do something about it. And we're so grateful to you that you decided that you were going to take a stand. And we're standing with you in this case because it's happened to all of us. Now, before I go any further, I do think now I have the definition of racial profiling up, because that is what we believe happened to you. And I want everyone to see this is not necessarily a legal definition, but it's a pretty decent definition of what happens to African Americans every day. There it is. Racial profiling refers to the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials of targeting individuals for suspicion of crime based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. Okay? And as I pointed out earlier, it's not necessarily, or it's not exclusively, police officers. We see Black Americans being racially profiled all the time. In fact, I got a little video I want us to watch here. We'll talk about it on the other side.
He don't even know my name and tell him I have a warrant.
What did he do?
That's what I'm saying.
For what?
For what?
From Louisiana.
For what?
For what?
Yeah.
I don't even live in Louisiana, so how would I have a... You don't know my name, so how can you tell me I have a warrant in Louisiana?
Sir, stop.
Clarence,
Calvary
hold on.
coming.
Okay, well, you know that's your phone.
Sir.
You just pulled up in front of my house and then I don't trust, because you shaking like you scared or something.
Okay.
I don't trust you, you shaking like you scared.
He don't live in
No,
Louisiana.
I don't even live in Louisiana. How the hell would I have a warrant in Louisiana?
Quentin, you already said your name was that.
My name is not Quentin. What the is wrong with you? No.
Sir, his name is
My
not
name is
Quentin.
Quentin.
Then let's see the ID and we'll be done.
Okay, hold on.
Just get different names. You woke up and told me 3 different names.
Hold on.
The third name you just no.
Clint.
No, I'm not gonna be the next you feel.
No.
No.
Stop.
His name is not
My name is
Quentin.
not
Then
Quentin.
let's do this and be done. I got no probable cause. I got
You
your
just
picture.
stopped in front of my house.
Yes, I know who you are.
It's you know what's my name?
Give it.
Man, that. You shaking like you scared. I'm not gonna let you put me in handcuffs.
Please stop. Please stop.
My name is not no fucking Quentin. You don't even know my name and tell me I got a warrant in Louisiana?
Okay. Yes. You want
Do
to
I
show
look
me
like
the
a...
picture? Do you want me to
Show
show
me
you
the
the
picture.
picture?
Show me the picture.
Okay,
Come over here.
wait.
Just walk with me.
Nah,
No, walk with me.
No.
Tell him walk with
Please,
me.
he's not going nowhere. He's not going nowhere.
I need your supervisor or
I am
somebody
the
else.
supervisor. Come on.
Well, let me see your stripes. Well, I need
Come on.
I need
Let's
somebody
walk
over
to the front of the car.
No, you're not
Walk
gonna get
to
me
the front
to
of
your
the car.
car. No.
Sir.
in my yard on my property. That.
Calm down.
Stop.
Just calm
You
down.
stop. You stop.
Who are you looking for?
That's what
His
I'm
name
saying.
is
My
not
name
Quentin.
is Quentin.
Let me see your
You
ID.
think I'm from because I got dreads or something?
No.
You just pulled up in front of my fucking house and told me I got a warrant in Louisiana. So what? That's my fucking dog.
That's our dog.
You,
That's our dog. Go in the house.
Look, man.
Sir, that's our dog.
Don't you touching me while you shaking. You need to step back and calm down. Nah, that. Like,
Get my phone out of the car.
There you got him running.
Get my phone out of the
Calm
car.
down. Calm down. Calm down.
Here's the deal. Doesn't that look a lot like
No, that don't look like
That's
me.
not him.
What's wrong with you, man?
Calm down.
What you trying to say? Because I got dreads and I'm black, that's me?
No.
That's not him.
She can see that's not me from
Oh
over
my
there.
God.
Top head.
No,
That's your ID.
what?
Stop. You got no problem?
My name? You ain't got no You ain't man, fuck
No,
this shit.
please
Look,
stop. Stop, stop, stop.
Two of y'all is gonna take over.
Please stop. Please leave him alone, please.
Look,
No, please. That is not him. Please leave him
man,
alone.
get out my
I
yard,
need to do a
man.
report on this. I need to do a report.
Nah, you need to get the fuck out of my yard. You just said I'm somebody named Quentin.
Oh
He got
my
dreads and he black.
Come on.
What the is that shit?
Okay, come on.
Nah, what's that?
Okay,
But now you want to leave, right?
No, I want to do a report on this.
Nah, you need to get somebody here that's over you because you just made the biggest mistake.
Why?
How the you pull in front of my yard because I'm black with dreads and tell me I got a warrant?
Okay,
Louisiana?
okay.
You
No, he
you
just
racist
said my kids was out here.
one of my
No.
fucking kids.
Okay.
What, you need to get this over here. Man,
But that he didn't answer his name.
let me see that.
That's heartbreaking. And I was nervous. I was shaking. Of course, we know, thank God, by God's grace, that brother was not shot and killed. But we know that's exactly what could have happened. That's exactly where those cases tend to go. And he had done nothing wrong. He was standing in his yard. Police in his yard about to arrest him, could have gotten violent with him. Nothing would have been done to the police simply because he's black. That's it. Let's go back to the definition. What is racial profiling? Racial profiling refers to the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials of targeting individuals for suspicion of crime based on the individual's race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin. I mean,
There are no words, and it was really emotional to watch. Just the dread that I felt of this man really could be shot and even killed in front of his kids. And what people don't realize is that when you're calling the police on someone, especially a black person in this country, it really could be the line between life and death for us in this country. When the police come and see us, just what happened with the two teens that we talked about earlier. The police came, they automatically went to the black teenager, automatically. And when they went to him, they didn't question him. They didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. They didn't ask how they could help. They put him and they slammed him on the ground and placed his hands behind his back. And so when the police get involved, unfortunately, a lot of times it really does mean that some type of violence could come against a black body.
well, the thing is, and by the way, the police, as Mr. Coleman said, was called on him in this incident. I wish we could go in a lot more detail about it. We do have video. And I was brought to tears as I watched Mr. Coleman's video and what happened to him. As a black man, I have dealt with that all my life. And when they call the police on you, even I'm 60 years old, I'll be 60 next week. Even back when I was a boy, you know, and I knew back then, even back then, before Rodney King, before George Floyd, before all that, We knew back then if the police come and you're black, it can go bad fast. And typically what happens is police comes. If it's you and a white person in a dispute, what has happened to me is they go straight to the white person. Just, you could have been the one. I've called the police involving whites, and they walk right past me and go straight to the white person. And I'm like, hold it. I called you. I'm the one who called you. I had an AT&T guy here at my house who was doing some work at the neighbor's house. And he wouldn't move his truck so that I could finish cutting my grass. And he got all belligerent. So he actually, you know what he told me, Mr. Coleman? He pulled out his phone. He said, okay, if you don't stop, I'm going to call the police on you. You don't want me to call the police on you. That's what he said to me. And I said, hold it. I'm going to call the police. Because he thought I would be afraid just to know that he was going to call the police. I called the police. The police arrived to my house and went straight to that white boy. And I'm like, hold it. I call you. I'm the homeowner. I'm the one who made the 911 call. Racial profiling. Hold on. I got another video for you all.
For what?
Because I told you to.
You haven't have a reason, sir. You didn't pull me over. But you didn't pull me over.
Get the license out, or I'll hit for a backup, and I'll take
call
you out of the car. Get your driver's license.
Call your supervisor, sir.
Get your driver's license out right now.
Call your supervisor.
Please call your supervisor. Because
you're
not pulling me over, neither.
You get your driver's license out right now. Show me ID.
Call your supervisor.
What do you need my ID for, sir?
Well, because you want to run your mouth to me.
No, because you was looking at my license plate. For what?
Exactly.
For what?
You don't have the right to run this.
I got my rights to do anything I want to do. I'm a police officer.
You can't run
that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything.
I'll pull you over and I'll tow your car.
You see, he
Get
said.
your driver's license out.
So he's not getting a supervisor. We requested a supervisor.
I don't mind showing you my driver's license.
Show me your
but
driver's
what is your reason that you're asking?
Because.
Why?
Because you're acting suspicious.
About what? We was in there shopping.
I said, show me your driver's license.
What is the suspicion, sir?
Get your driver's license out.
You can't
Just
state
show
the
me your
suspicion.
driver's license. That's all I want to see.
You're not explaining to me. You didn't pull
I'm
me over.
explaining to
You
you.
jumped out your car and asked me, did I want to?
Investigation.
What are you investigating?
Look,
You
get
just
your
see me in there
driver's
shopping.
license
I
out.
paid.
Because we spent money.
I paid for everything that I bought.
Get your driver's license out.
Sir,
Show me your driver's license. If you don't got no warrants or nothing, you're gone. I don't have no problem.
what is the reason
Get
that you're
your
stopping
driver's
me?
license. I'm not going to argue with you no more.
I'm not arguing. I'm trying to understand
Show 'em your
something.
license. What's your name, officer? That's all I want. Because we're
Show
following
me
the.
your driver's license and you can go.
We asked for a supervisor. You denied us that.
I'm not going to get a supervisor.
I'm asking for your name.
I'm off-duty employment.
You're off duty?
Exactly. Off-duty employment.
If you're off duty, then why are you stopping people?
And I'm stopping you because you're suspicious.
Why are
About
we
what?
suspicious?
Well, what'd you come back around for?
Because I want to know
No, you jumped out of the car on us because we
Exactly.
looked at you.
Because I don't know what you guys are doing. Now show me your
You don't know
driver's
what we're
license.
doing. You just seen
Show
us
me
shopping.
your driver's license.
You don't look. You see all these bags in the back of the car? We just came out of the store seeing you, so you
Show
know
me
what
your
we're doing.
driver's license.
You know what was going on because I know he couldn't really articulate what he was trying to say.
Yeah, as far as I know, based upon what happened, I don't think either of us have any reasonable suspicion to believe that there's a crime taking place.
Right.
It says there's no reason for a traffic stop at this point.
Right.
So there's no legal requirement for you to identify yourself to an officer at that point. So if you don't want to give him ID, then you don't have to give him ID at that point.
And we tried to be calm and talk to him like that, and he just. I don't have to tell you anything. Leaning in the car, spitting all in the car. He's just, I don't know if he's having a bad day. His wife left him. I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know,
Your
man.
guess is as good as mine.
But hey, man, I appreciate
as far
you,
as
boss.
I'm concerned, you guys are good to go. All
yes,
right,
sir.
take care, all right?
Appreciate it.
That's the type of policing we need.
I'm going to just sit right there and let y'all handle that.
That's the type of, when I say policing, I mean the second officer who came on scene. That's the type of accountability that police officers need to have against themselves, because a lot of times other police officers don't speak up or speak out. They stay behind that thin blue line. But I appreciate that second officer who came and who articulated that there's no reasonable suspicion to stop those two men that they had shopped. They had lawfully paid for their items, and there was no reason for them to show the identification. So that's what we need.
Explain to our audience what is reasonable suspicion, Chloe,
Reasonable suspicion is a standard,
and why
that
it's
law
important
enforcement,
in this case.
yes, it's a standard that law enforcement must have in order to lawfully detain a citizen. And the standard is they must have some type of specific facts or circumstances they believe that the person is committing a crime. It's lower than probable cause. It's much lower than reasonable standard. I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt, which is required at trial. But it is a standard that police officers must meet in order for them to lawfully detain a person. And if they don't have that, if they don't have specific facts or some type of circumstance that some type of offense was committed, they can't detain the person lawfully, and they can't be, and the person is not required to give their ID, etc. And what the second officer is saying is that the first officer who tried to stop those young men, he didn't articulate any type of reasonable suspicion for why those two young men committed a crime. He, according to the young man, and he confirmed he saw them go into the Nordstrom. He saw them come out and have their shopping bags. They told him that they paid for the items. They showed him the items in the back of his car. So what is your reasonable suspicion? There was none. And the second officer confirmed that.
Now,
Let him
now,
go.
now, the thing is here, and that. I think that was Indiana. I think it said Indianapolis Metro Police. Here in Texas, the law is slightly different, and that is if an officer stops someone in a car, someone's driving a car, and the officer pulls them over. Um, just as Chloe said, that officer needs reasonable suspicion to stop the car, ask questions. The difference in the law here is if you're stopped by a cop and you're in your car, you do have to give them your driver's license, your name, and so on in a car. Okay, if you're in a car, you're required to do that. If you're not in a car, if you're just on the street corner and the officer has reasonable suspicion and asks you some questions, you're not required at that point to identify yourself until and unless you're arrested. But in a car, you do have to give the officer your name, address, that information, which typically is on your driver's license. So here they could have gotten arrested for that.
That's right.
Right? So, but the point is that guy had no reasonable suspicion, and he said that. I mean, he just said, you just look suspicious. I mean, he literally said that.
And Mr. Coleman, after seeing these two videos and in light of what happened to you, how do they make you feel? I think there may be some technical issues again.
Audio's gone again, Mr. Coleman. We'll give Mr. Coleman an opportunity to straighten that out. Now, Chloe, let's talk about some of the forms of racial profiling. Racial profiling can occur and has occurred in many ways. There's shopping while black, banking while black, sleeping while black. We think about Amir Locke and Breonna Taylor. Banking while black, Creston Coleman. Wearing a hoodie while black. Jogging while black. What are some of the other ones you see there?
Sitting while black. Going to the movies while black. That happened to us. Doing absolutely nothing while black. Studying while black, eating while black, simply walking while black, golfing while black, and so many other just mundane things that everyday humans do on an everyday basis. But if you do it while black, there's likely could be some form of racial profiling.
Yes. So all of these things are are racial profiling. All right, now I think Mr. Coleman is back with us. Okay, Mr. Coleman, let's see if you got any audio.
Oh yeah, and I apologize again, you all.
No problem. All right. So,
yes,
yeah, go ahead.
I know, and I'm glad I can. You asked me that. How does that make me feel? Honestly, it's heartbreaking. I understand what those gentlemen felt. It takes me back to the moment, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, those individuals' lives and mentality would never be the same. When it comes to how they're being treated, how we're being treated, how they look at society, and especially how they look at police. You know, only thing I can say was, I see that, I've witnessed that those individuals get violated. That's total violation from what I've seen. But then again, I also have to say this. I have to piggyback on what Miss Chloe said about the officer, the second officer that came around. What I just can't understand is why, like she said, have more of them, and what's so hard about that? About you just coming to do your job and serving the community like you're supposed to. What's so hard about that? I just can't wrap my mind around that. And simulations in these type of situations and in my situation, yeah. So those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for allowing me to share.
Of course. And you're a black man, obviously. You are a taller black man. How do you feel that comes into play sometimes with the racial profiling against you?
Um, I'll tell you a lot, a lot. I've been told, referred to, yeah, as big. You're big. You're intimidating. People might just be scared of you. So all of those things, those type of phrases, I have been referred to or implied. So I think it plays a major role in my appearance, but it's that's something I cannot change. When I walk
Hmm.
into a room, I cannot sit, break myself down on height, on stature, on weight, on volume of voice, or even just. I think it has a lot to do with just the spirit. you know, I can't change these things, but it's been brought to my attention, like you're a big guy. I don't think I'm that big. I'm only 6'2". So, but I've heard the comments, so it has to play, and it has played a role. And I get it, and I understand when I walk into places. I'm like, why do everybody just look at me like this? Like I don't know. To me, I'm not a big guy, but I guess to the ones looking on, I look like a giant. So, but
Well, let me
um,
let me say this. This is not just offensive behavior. This is racial profiling is not just offensive behavior. It's not just demeaning, insulting behavior. It is very dangerous behavior. Both of the videos that we played, all three of the videos, the young black teen, the brother that was in his yard with the dreads, and the last two guys. All four of them could have gotten shot and killed by those police officers, and basically nothing would have been done about it. And it's just as dangerous not only when police officers racially profile, but it's also dangerous when citizens do it as well. Here is Exhibit A for that. This is exactly what those guys did. They racially profiled Ahmad Albury. That's exactly what they did. And they killed him because he was black and they were deeply racist. And by the way, that's all coming out now in their federal civil rights trial. It is showing the deep, profoundly deep racism that is in the hearts of all three of these guys. It is coming out. That was not the focus in the state trial. In the federal trial, that is the sole focus. It is they are charged with violating Ahmaud Arbery's civil rights. And so the prosecutors are showing through evidence, through testimony, various things that these men are deeply, deeply racist. And I have heard some of the testimony, and trust me when I tell you that these men, these right here, are very racist men. And that is the reason why Ahmaud Arbery today is dead. He was racially profiled by three very racist people, and they murdered him. So racial profiling is not just offensive and insulting. And I'm just throwing this out on your case, Mr. Coleman. We're not going into detail. Mm-hmm. But you too could have been killed by that police officer. Okay? We'll leave it at that. Yeah. All right? Now, not only is there a tremendous dangerousness to racially profiling, but there's a big cost. There's a big economic and financial cost to black people, right? And to this nation, okay? Cost in terms of getting arrested, bonding out, missing days' work, unfortunately being killed, all sorts of things. I wanted to show you all this. So there is a tremendous cost to racial profiling. Bryant Gumbel said that we black Americans, we pay a black tax. We pay a tax for being black in this country. Okay? Mr. Coleman, you paid a tax that day. They taxed you. Okay? I've paid that tax many times. My family paid that tax. Mr. Coleman, I think we told you about the time that we went to my family and I went to a theater to go to the movies after church. I just finished preaching. The family after church would always go and eat. We went out to eat, and afterwards we said, hey, let's go watch a movie. Me, my wife, and my two kids. And the woman at the theater was very rude to my daughter. And she was, Chloe, you got there before we did. Your mom and I came up a few minutes after you got there. You told us, you texted us and said, this woman is being very rude to me. And so when we got there, I said to her, why are you doing this? And very calm, very gentle. I don't curse and scream and all that. I'm just, why are you doing this to us? I mean, we can afford to be here. It was a high-scale movie theater. We can afford to be here. I mean, why are you treating us like this? And there was an African, there was a there were Hispanics and whites there who were getting very, very good treatment. But we were being treated like just, low people, just second-class citizens. And Mr. Coleman, an African-American manager of the theater, walked up. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I'm so glad he showed up because I'm sure he's going to straighten this out. And he asked me what happened. I said, well, here's what happened. And he said, you playing the race card. That's what a brother said that to me. I won't call him a brother, a black man said that to me. You're playing the race card. I said, dude, what are you talking about? I'm telling you what she did. This is how she treated my family. We're not playing. We didn't come here, take our time, waste our time to stand here and say something happened when it didn't happen. Well, I mean, we came all the way over here to ruin our Sunday after church to play the race card. Make a long story short, me, my son, and Chloe were arrested for trespassing and taken to jail. Spent a night in jail because we got racially profiled, spoke up to a black manager. That's what happened to us. So we paid a black tax that day.
And it doesn't matter your occupation. It doesn't matter how many letters you have behind your name. It doesn't matter even how you're dressed. A lot
Pastor,
of times
lawyer, prosecutor, doctor, president, billionaire. If you black, you black.
You black.
Yeah.
Jay-Z had a song in The Life of OJ, and he says it's about, OJ's basically saying he's not black, and then Jay-Z's rapping over it, and he was like, you still N-word. I ain't gonna say it on the broadcast. You can get however much money you want. You can, be in all these upscale places. At the end of the day, you're still a black person, and you're still a black man.
We saw that with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Most powerful man in the world. And they treated him like the N-word.
Yeah.
It's a practice. It's a practice that's been going on. I know, we all know ever since we all come into this world. It's a practice that been going on all our lives. It's a practice that needs to stop. And I questioned that myself the other day. I said, how can I? How can we? Who do we run to for something to be implemented to protect us? Because it's at this point, it's just I don't know anymore. It's scary. It's scary. Who is going to come and protect us? I don't have a problem with anybody being protected. When it's a problem there and it's needed, let's go forward. I know there's laws and things like that have been implemented for certain groups, organizations, and communities, and things of such of that nature. But what about us? Who's going to even consider us? Who's going to take us on and be honest and say, hey, there's a problem here that we have to fix. There's other problems that's fixed when necessary.
Well, one of the things that you did that really helps your case, and other blacks should do it as well, is you pulled out your cell phone.
Yes.
And you started recording. Now, that's what we got to do, because we've been going through this for a long time. People didn't believe us. But now that we got cameras in our phones, we can pull them out. Just like those 3 videos that we just saw, somebody videotaped it. Everybody could see it. It's undeniable, cannot be denied. Of course, when you pull that phone out to record, you got to do it safely. You don't want to do it in such a way that, you'll cause the police to say you're reaching for a gun or something. But if you can safely pull that phone out and record it, you may really help yourself later on.
And one answer to the question you had, who can help us? Christ can help us. And, Dad, you've been preaching about this, about what Jesus said about racism. But this world is twisted. And the racism that came about from the sin that the devil released on this earth, this is not the kingdom that God designed. This is not the earth that God designed. And God's kingdom is based on both righteousness and justice. So when he comes back down and he saves this fallen world, he's going to fix the racism, the racial profiling, the murders and killings that have happened against black people and other minorities in this country, because this is not the basis of what his kingdom is whatsoever. And there will be a reckoning. There will be a true reckoning of all of the racists and the people who have been murdered because of the color of their skin. So that's who we can turn to and who we can look to.
Let the church say amen.
Just had to bring it out a little. Just had to bring it out a little. Because people try to twist the word. And there's a lot of white theologians, and we're not going to get into this on this podcast right now, but the American view, the Western view of the word has been twisted. And it has twisted the message that comes from what Jesus came to do, which he came to help the vulnerable, to help the poor, to bring racial justice, to get people out of prisons. He did not come just to focus on one group or one race and only save them. So there will be a true reckoning. That message will come out. And, those of us like you, Mr. Creston, my dad and I, others, we'll continue to do the work and be on the ground, but there will be a true reckoning for all of this racism and racial profiling in this country and around the world.
You're listening to The Defiant Lawyers, the YouTube podcast that's educating America about civil rights.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up. Mr. Coleman, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us what you could tell us about your story. Obviously, we couldn't get too deeply into it because, again, there's ongoing litigation, so we can't talk about it but so much. But we do appreciate you spending some time with us today. And Mr. Coleman's, we do have his case in federal court, and we're gonna seek justice for him zealously. You asked the question, what can we do about it? Who can help us? Well, we got to do what we've always done in this country. Like Chloe said, until that reckoning day come, we'll take them to court. Yep. We'll take them to court. We'll keep taking them to court. And if we can hit them in their pockets, okay, that tends to get their attention. Okay? If we can hit them in the pocket and tell other people, this is what happened to me in this establishment. By the way, this is Wells Fargo that we're talking about. That was the bank that you were in, where you got racially profiled by Wells Fargo employees. Okay. And I will say this, it's public record. There are many other racially profiling cases that have been filed and that are pending against Wells Fargo as we speak. Okay?
Yes.
As we speak. So there's we're not the only one here. So, are there any closing comments? Let's start with you, Mr. Coleman, and then Chloe, and then we'll wrap this up.
All right. I just want to thank you guys, first of all, for the opportunity, for bringing me on today and allowing me to share, my experience of racial profiling. Uh, Second of all, I want to also thank you guys for being on the front line and being a force against this thing that's this racial profiling thing. As you know, as it continue, as we move on, people will find out that it's hard to find someone that's going to stand there by you during this time when these things occur. And I just want to thank you all guys for being someone that we can run to until we do have that moment. And thank you for being by my side during my situation and representing me. You guys have showed nothing but professionalism, being very strategic, being very patient, and how you guys have handled this situation so far has been like no other. And I just don't say that just to be saying it. So thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank you very much. No, I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say thank you for that. Yeah.
but yeah, this is a real thing, y'all. To the audience, listen, this racial profiling. This is a real thing. It happens every day, and we all have been affected by it in some type of way. So, only thing I can say, we just take a stand for yourself. Take a stand for your people. Take a stand for us when it do happen. Just don't turn the cheek the other way, because if we do that, then we definitely don't win. There's no justice in these situations when we turn our cheek the other way, and it's something that's worth fighting for. If it happens to you, it's something worth fighting for and standing by. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast and the YouTube channel today, Mr. Coleman, and sharing your story and the effect that this racial profiling has had on you. We appreciate you, really wanting to file in court and to take them to court and show them that you're not going to stand for this because you're standing on the shoulders of other black men and women who've come before you and who are going to come after you. So I appreciate you for coming on the podcast, telling us a little bit about yourself. And I commend you for the work that you're doing in your hometown in Peoria, Illinois, for starting that nonprofit organization, Performing Open Hearts, and really wanting to work with people who have been sucked into gang violence and out on the streets, and athletes who may have been left behind. We need more black people who have done things in life to do that, to give back to the community. So I commend you for that. Again, this has been the Defiant Lawyers YouTube and podcast channel. We thank all of the legal rebels for coming up here, for listening to Mr. Coleman's story, and for listening to this conversation that we've had today. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, if you learned something from this content that we put out, go ahead and like the video below, and subscribe to our channel. We ask you to share this, get this video out. We want Mr. Coleman's story to get out so that other people will know what to do when they suffer from racial profiling. And so that these corporations and law enforcement officers will know that we're not going to be silent, that we will stand up and we will speak out. So share this video with your family and friends so that they can hear Mr. Coleman's story as well. Again, this has been such a pleasure being on the Defiant Lawyers with my dad. And we're going to be back next Saturday.
Go ahead.
And
Sorry.
that was it for me.
My apologies. I enjoyed it as well. What happened to Mr. Coleman was so insulting and offensive that this big man, he wept. He wept. He wept as this was going on. And not only did he weep, but an African-American woman who witnessed what happened, she also wept. And she confronted the officer and the employees because of the way they treated Mr. Coleman. Racial profiling is real, it's ugly, it's costly, and it's dangerous. And it needs to stop. So we do, as Chloe said, thank you. We appreciate you all showing up for us today. We're at the tail end of this now, getting ready to go. Thank you again, Mr. Coleman. You've been listening to the Defiant Lawyers.
Yes.
Yeah, baby, yes. We coming at you. Yes, sir. All right. Much love. You all be good. You legal rebels. Remember, we're giving you information that you need to defy this unjust legal system.
Yes.
We're good. Love y'all. Peace. Soul. Love.